During all the centuries of the Middle Ages, an intense spirituality impregnated the thought of artists. Their works stand in an atmosphere of dignity and reserve. In old Gothic style, the attitudes are stiff. Objects are isolated. Composition is angular. But reacting against Gothic austerity, Renaissance art, and soon after that the Baroque, opposed a rich and supple style. In Flanders, Peter Paul Rubens guided Baroque art to one of its highest expressions. Confronted with each other, Gothic paintings and those of Rubens display their respective characteristics. Van der Gogh's subject is handled with an austerity that approaches undernourishment, while Rubens is plump and juicy as ripe fruit. Memling's severity and concentration are almost oppressive. Rubens is relaxed and easy. Van Eyck forges the beautiful particular. Rubens suggests the abandon of life itself. Rubens' damned are well fed. Rubens' forms often suggest the turbulent movements of water, of clouds or of flames. Many artists like to turn their pictures upside down and then look. This may interfere with the natural sense, but it also makes it easier to judge the nature of the style. The undulation, which in Rubens' work joins and harmonizes the various forms, also dictates to him the essentials of his composition, which is frequently of a curved or circular pattern. Here the composition balances itself in 2 or 3 circles. Rubens never hesitates to distort beings or objects if this is necessary to reconcile them with the flowing gyrations of his style. Renaissance thought in general, and Rubens in particular, revolved in the same orbit, the exciting conception of a universe in gravitation around the central force which organized and directed all. Off in the center of the picture is itself circular. Here the center is in an unexpected place. Sometimes Rubens insists. Here, the axis of the composition becomes the beautiful oval of his beloved Helene Forman's face. Even on the front of his studio, designed by himself, Rubens places the familiar symbol of his thought. Ceaselessly on the watch, the eye of Rubens during almost half a century will passionately observe the world. Here's the painter as he sees himself at 30 years. At 40, at the height of his creative fervor. At 50, painter and ambassador to princes and kings. 60 years old, close to his death, but still creating some of his most original work. He shared the first part of his happy life with the peaceful Isabelle Brandt. Then, after his first wife's death, he married the youthful Hélène Formin. She was 16, Rubens 53. His house and garden at Antwerp, as reconstructed in modern times. Rubens bought this dwelling in 1610, when, having just returned from travels in Spain and Italy, he was named court painter to the Archdukes Albert and Isabel. During all his long career, he never ceased to enlarge and beautify his home, which was also his studio. It was a large house. Here's the artist's studio. Those works of enormous dimensions, which he often made, went out into the world through this high door. His home was the center of an intense artistic productivity. Many pupils and assistants worked under his direction. His strong personality was to have a lasting influence on many of the important artists who worked for him. Antoine van Dyck, who inspired the English school of painting, especially with his elegant portraits, of which the celebrated one of Charles I now rests in the Louvre. The robust Jacob Jourdan, the painter of jovial popular scenes. The style of these arcades is reminiscent of the gorgeous Arches of Triumph, which Rubens sketched and which were erected in Antwerp on the occasion of the Cardinal Infant Ferdinand's visit. The arcades are found in one of Jourdan's most beautiful compositions. Rubens' drawing room, as conceived by Corneille de Vos. The children are Rubens. Rubens was closely attached to his family. Frequently he painted their portraits. His sons, Albert and Nicholas, the children of Isabel, his first wife. His daughter Clara and his son Franz, the children of Hélène. His strong feeling for his young wife appears in the numerous paintings he made of her. But for Rubens, his family circle is never closed off from the world. He modifies but slightly the portraits of the members of his family in order to show them and himself participating in a universal life. He puts his own love story in those paintings celebrating love in general. 」 « By the motherhood he sees around him, he is inspired to paint the one whom his whole age contemplated. He sees himself here as a symbolic figure who, with the others, pays homage to the Christ child. Toward the end of his life, Rubens bought the manor house of Stein. He pictures it together with trees, clouds, and animals in many of his late paintings. He likes to show peasants in their familiar occupations. Though he is fond of the strong and rugged, he also appreciates work of the spirit. He made many portraits of the notables of his time. His friend and confidant, the poet Gaspar Gavertius. His protector, Nicholas Rocox, mayor of Antwerp. His confessor, the Dominican Michael Afovius, a great enemy of the Reformation. Thomas More, author of Utopia, later beheaded by Henri VIII. Rubens drew a compass symbolizing the life of the spirit. It was used as the sign for the famous Plantin print shop. This intellectual center was directed at the time by Balthasar Mauritius, a great friend of Rubens and a bold propagandist for Renaissance thought. The Archdukes Albert and Isabel, the Spanish prince and princess who ruled in Flanders during Rubens' life. Philip IV, King of Spain. Anne of Austria, Queen of France. Charles the Bold, Duke of Burgundy. Philip II, the Prudent, King of Spain. Marie de Medici, Queen of France. Maximilian, Emperor of Germany. Rubens was always faithful to Antwerp. An engraving reminds us of the bustling activity of that great seaport, which poured into Europe precious products from all over the world. Scenes of Antwerp never appear directly in his works, but the presence of the river Scheldt and of the sea is often revealed. The artist's house was situated in the middle of the city. Where once had stood a simple and modest dwelling, Rubens created a rich and stately showplace. The painter frequently left his home city for the intellectual and political centers of his time. On these visits, he worked both as artist and diplomat. Interested in all the world, and in its future, he introduced into his work human types from every race and every latitude. Preoccupied with the idea of a peaceful world, he imagined an ideal union between the four great powers of his time. This was the symbol of understanding to which he devoted himself, and which he tried to bring about between Holland, Spain, France, and England. Tirelessly, Rubens worked out preliminary studies which helped him better to understand certain parts of his finished paintings. He worked out his big ideas with the help of small-sized, rapidly made sketches. These themes he originated thusly were often transposed onto immense panels. A painting of Sebastian Branck's preserves for us the Jesuit church at Antwerp, later destroyed by fire. Rubens was commissioned to manage its interior decoration. To adorn the high altar, he painted interchangeable altarpieces, originating, in a manner of speaking, the first screen used for moving pictures. And to show his work to the world, he utilized the only other medium his age offered to him, engraving. For the reproduction of his paintings, he went to the finest engravers of his day. To Lucas Vorsterman, so proud of his own genius and so jealous of Rubens, that he once threatened Rubens' life. And to Paul Pontius, the most delicate workman. To the brothers Balsworth, the most vigorous. To Christopher Jaeger, the most original. The only known engraving executed by Rubens himself is one of St. Catherine, done in an extraordinarily easy and supple style. So Rubens' work generally passes through 4 stages: the drawing, the sketch, the painting, and the engraving. Rubens' flawless fluidity of technique was acquired over a long period of time. In the beginning, his brushstroke was dry and worked. But later, it became so supple, so subtle, it was practically a caress. His mastery, above all, is asserted in his sketches. In the history of European painting, Rubens, developing his own particular style, played essentially a transitional role. He prolonged a brilliant past and heralded a rich and promising future. He introduced to the North Country the Italian style of the 16th century. He gave the tone and tune to all the Flemish painting of his own century, the 17th. Rubens' violence and shock was revived in the 19th century with Delacroix. The romantic Wiertz later renewed Rubens' taste for heroes and his ease of manner. Certain delicacies of his art were revived by Watteau and his followers throughout the 18th century in France. And in the 20th century, Rubens' easy-flowing, full-bodied style reappears in the voluptuous work of Renoir. Rubens presents nature as a heaven of abundance. Earth-born, this simple husky country maiden could be some mythical goddess who offers her basket loaded with fruits and flowers. Rubens' painting is full of symbols of fertility. It continually reveals the richness of a nourishing earth. In Rubens' universe, vegetation is luxuriant. The earth pours forth her fruits generously. And animal life, intense and varied, mixes equally with human life and vegetation. If Rubens finds luxuriousness in nature, he admires it in inanimate things too. Crystal, copper, jewels, fine materials, silks, laces, brocades. From seas of material richness rise full-blown nudes, pearly-fleshed and opulent. Numerous hands move through Rubens' work, suggesting the diverse directions of his thought. Hands delicate and caressing. Hands which give life, which nourish. Hands which unite. Rough hands command. Hands which seem to meditate. And hands which stab, kill. If in Rubens' work there are terrifying aspects, there are also those of soft sweetness, worlds of pale gray and delicate rose, where little angels of love trail clouds of happiness. Painter of children, Rubens is also the painter of the espousals which produce them. He is the interpreter par excellence of lovers, of whom he gives many versions: shepherd and shepherdess, god and goddess, nymph and satyr. Rubens' mentality, rich and peopled with symbols, develops its subject in multiple episodes, like a novelist or historian. The story he will tell with his deepest emotion will be that of the life and passion of Christ. He sees here the drama which dominates the world and the entire universe. The sky announces that a God will be born in the womb of the earth. Terror is loosed. The innocents are slaughtered. In the night, the family of Jesus flies toward Egypt. Surrounded by tenderness, Jesus grows into boyhood. His teachings begin. He is baptized. He teaches forgiveness. He commands the elements. He raises the dead. But the bestiality of mankind is loosed and turned against him. Christ is mocked and tortured and led to his everlasting triumph, the crucifixion. In Rubens' art, the divine is equipresent with the human. Although his landscapes are heroic, his heroes are ordinary, everyday mortals. The marriage of heaven and earth, the battle of the angels and demons, the fall of the rebellious angels, the last judgment. Rubens described it as a storm in which all the universe would tremble. Rubens' painting is musical and moving, dancing with life. The rhythm of his thought, of his composition, the gesture of his brush, all move through space and time, circling like the planet on which he lived, circling, joining color to color, shape to shape, men to gods, trees to clouds, heaven to earth.